Welcome to Thought to Action, presented by the London Center for Policy Research, where we delve deeply into important issues, examine ideas, discuss solutions, put our thoughts into action. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, President of the London Center for Policy Research. If you enjoy our videos and would like to help us create more content, please join our Patreon community at patreon.com, Thought to Action. Patrons are able to preview Thought to Action before everyone else, and we offer exclusive content in our Ask Us Anything question and answer sessions. And other very interesting video perks. Also, please subscribe to our Thought to Action YouTube channel, Rumble, and anywhere else that it's available. For now, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and londoncenter.org. So, without further ado, we're here to talk about some policy issues relating to Tampa. And we're not talking about cigars, unfortunately, which is what I'd rather talk about, but instead, we're going to be talking about the school board and Marie Legge, who's now running for it. She's joining us to talk about why she's doing what she's doing. And then we're also joined by distinguished fellow Bryan Griffin from Tampa, and also Jay Homnick, senior fellow Jay Homnick from, where are you at, Jay?
Miami.
So we got kind of all of Florida covered. So what I'd like to go through today is frame this discussion as best we can in a policy sense, in that I think we all recognize that there are key issues within our education system which are failing the students, failing the parents, failing in every aspect, the necessity for a solid education for our kids. So without further ado, Ali, please introduce yourself and tell us about why you're running for office and what your plans are.
Hi, so I'm Marie Legge, and I am a candidate for Hillsborough County School Board District 6, which is countywide. So anybody in Hillsborough County can vote for me. And I'm doing this because, one, I am a mother of 5 kids. Their ages range from 13, 12, 8, 5, and 3. So I have my hands full. I promise I'm old enough, I swear. My husband and I have been married for about 10 years now, and I'm also an Army veteran. So excellent. Just because I hang up that uniform doesn't mean that my oath expires, right? And so I have also been involved in with an organization called Moms for Freedom, where we teach our communities about our constitutionally protected rights and how to make effective change through our legislature to make sure that our parental rights are not infringed upon when it comes to medicating our kids or educating our children. And we've defeated, with other freedom groups around Florida, not just Florida, but in our nation as well, we've defeated about 18 bills that aim to strip away our parental rights. So I've been working with politicians for a really long time. And I have noticed that we've kind of turned a blind eye to school board. I think a lot of people have turned a blind eye to school board, but with COVID and the restrictions that they had, keeping children out of school has opened everybody's eyes to what is actually happening in classrooms. For example, I had one of my son's teachers say that the Constitution can be suspended under an emergency.
Wow.
So that is false. So.
Yeah. So let's, I think Bryan may have some thoughts on that since he lives right there near you in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Bryan, maybe you can address with Ali kind of the fabric of Tampa, because I know for the most part, having spent a lot of time in Tampa, that's where I met Ali and you had me down there recently. They're not a community that lends itself well to woke experiments. So maybe you guys can talk a little bit about that.
Ali, it's great to see you. And of course, I'm a big fan as a fellow Tampa native. I wish you all the best in your campaign, and I'll certainly be supporting you. Here's the interesting thing about Tampa. Let me zoom out for a second. So wherever you're watching this from, you know what's happening on the national political stage. The interesting thing about Florida in particular is that Florida is a bellwether for national politics. And currently, Florida is one of the last kind of lines of defense for liberty and individual responsibility. That's the attitude that our governor has taken. He's gotten a lot of heat for it. He's certainly, the national eye has been kind of put onto Florida because a lot of other states and a lot of other places around the country have accepted this new lifestyle of kind of what the government says goes, especially in the wake of COVID. Zooming in from there, we've got Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa sits. Hillsborough County has been back and forth, red and blue, for the last decade or so. I'd say it's probably a purple right now. So Hillsborough County will be a bellwether for Florida. Florida will be a bellwether for the nation. And then zooming in even further, the school board seems to be where we see the most grassroots political action happening nowadays. Everybody sees those images from the school board meetings and, for example, Loudoun County, where parents are coming and confronting school board members with what's being taught of their children. We're seeing other school board kind of videos from public school board meetings where people are pushing back against unexamined mandates, mandates that are basically placed by the government without necessarily having justification or the science to follow it. So Tampa and the Tampa School Board in particular is going to be more critical than you think. And I think the school board is going to continue to be the first line of kind of individuals getting involved in their government process. So not to put too much on you, Ali, but there's a lot going on right now, especially in the arena that you're getting into. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with that assessment? And what do you think the role of the school board should be in that regards?
I absolutely do agree with you. It is going to be very difficult. There is a lot of things that's going on with our school board. For example, we have not had a balanced budget for the last 10 years, and we have one of the largest. It's $3.3 billion. We also can't find 25 million of that. I don't know where it is. Nobody knows where it's at. Nobody can give us any kind of direction on where that money is. They did put together a financial committee, but on that committee, there's not a lot of people that have financial background. They had to make sure that they put an LGBTQ plus person on there, somebody that was that identified as Latinx. And I don't know what their sexual orientation has to do with finding money or balancing a budget, but that's what their requirements were in order for you to sit on the financial committee. They have not met yet. They haven't put down a date on when they were going to meet. However, I don't know if they're going to be able to find this $23 million, but our school board members do seem to want to continue to tax our communities to further assist in their misgivings when it comes to financial things. As far as planning goes.
That's a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. The federal government wastes millions of dollars every day, and citizens have no ability to provide input nor demand accountability, especially when these missing dollars are in agency regulations. But at the school board level, citizens can get involved. And it's absolutely unexcusable that much money should be, missing with no accountability. So this is a great example of what I'm talking about, kind of the first entry point into demanding more accountability from our government, and the school board is where it seems to be the citizens are really paying attention.
That's my whole entire purpose. I want to bring back integrity to the board. I want to bring back accountability to the board because they essentially work for us. They are public servants. They are not public officials, because when you add that official word, they seem to have this false perception of power that they have, and they don't have that. The Constitution is very clear, federal and state, that it lays out what their job is supposed to do, and it's granted by we the people as their consent. So when they operate outside of the consent of the people, they become unjust, and it's up to us, we the people, to hold them accountable for their actions. And they don't like that very much.
So let me open this up with Jay, but let me put a framework on how I want to present it. I see a lot of folks on Twitter, not that Twitter is a great indicator of intelligence, just saying that I see doctors who put their pronouns and they put their friend of the LGB or they're gay. I don't know how that actually adds to telling someone about your technical competence. Now, to me, the education system should be all about, can you add 2 and 2 and get 4? Can you go through and understand the engineering aspects of a motor so that you can help someone design it? I don't believe that having quotas based on skin color, gender, or other somewhat obtuse, if not completely undefinable aesthetics, it makes someone smarter. Am I wrong on that? I mean, is that something I'm not getting here?
No, I think you're very correct with that. Someone's sexual orientation does not determine if they are smart enough to do the job or if they are qualified to do the job. Whether or not they are brown skin or light skin does not mean that they are qualified to do the job either. And that seems to be what a lot of our teachings is going into. There's actually going to be a policy hearing on cultural relative teaching, and it's to basically teach our teachers how to recognize their unconscious implicit bias, which is basically teaching them how to recognize that they're racist. If you're unconsciously racist, then you're not racist. But it's so confusing and very infuriating, actually.
Well,
we should not be dividing our families that way.
So let's bring in Jay to that, because Jay, I think, has studied a great deal of issues relating to education as well as discrimination. So Jay, how would you approach this, and what would you help advise Allie to do regarding her current quest to actually bring sanity to the school board?
Well, the first thing I want to do is offer Allie a free slogan. I usually charge a lot of money for this, but because you're in our special group here, we're going to treat you different. And I think if you get a chance to do a televised ad or to do a kind of ad that has room for some pictures and development, it goes something like this. People ask me if I hung up my uniform.
Mm-hmm.
I answer, now I hang up 5 uniforms. And you switch to a picture of the kids' school uniforms. And I think that's your ad right there.
Thank you.
But I think this is critical that, the money part, sure. And I'm glad we brought that up. The money is never going to be honest when you have people in between, the government, forget it. But the question is, we don't mind getting ripped off a little bit if we get a good education out of the deal. But are we getting that education? And it goes really from parents as young as yourself that are essentially just one generation behind. I'm 63 and I have a 19-year-old son. I'm like 2 generations older than him. But you're the right face for this, and to say, hey, so the question is, what was your education like a generation ago? And are you willing to put yourself out there and say, there were flaws in my education. Now they're only getting worse. We're going in the wrong direction.
We definitely are going in the wrong direction. I think it started with Common Core. So when Common Core first came out, the students were being taught how to do math and language arts a different way. And that alienated parents from their students. So parents weren't able to help their students figure out the math problems or figure out how they were doing word problems and things of this nature. So parents kind of checked out because they didn't have the time to learn the new way. And that was the beginning of the division of the family. A second part of the division of the family. And you can see that now. There's a lot of parents that have been checked out, but since COVID and the restrictions that they had implemented, keeping parents out of school, which they're still doing, parents are not allowed to go and visit their kids in classrooms. They're not allowed in the buildings. Paras are not allowed, which is essentially keeping children with special needs from getting their accessibility and accommodations done. And it's very disheartening.
I think this is a genius point, and we should just take a moment to absorb what you just said, which is that there's a conscious effort to keep parents out of their children's education. That's
yes.
Clear.
And there's also, a point where they don't want parents to be involved at all, period. There was actually a quote from a school board member that said parents just don't know what's best for their kids. And I took full offense to that because I am the only one that knows what's best for my children at all times. And my children do not belong to our government, and I don't co-parent with the government, and neither does my husband. Nobody else should co-parent with anybody outside of their family unit. And to think that our elected servants, people that have raised their right hand to uphold our constitutions, both federal and state statute, to have them say that parents don't know what's best for their kids is just it's completely unacceptable.
When is the election? Is this November coming up now?
No, it would actually be during primary time. So it would be August of 2022.
All right. So you got a good head start. So we have plenty of time to have you come back because there's some other issues I'd like to have us cover regarding school choice.
Yes.
The issue of parental involvement. Well, school choice, for example, I've noticed that minority communities and those who actually understand the importance of parental control want school choice.
Yes.
Why would you be opposed to that? Well, it's because of the Marxist system, which is now taken over, and not only do they rigidly control the content, they rigidly control what you have available to you regarding the options. And obviously, I don't think that's in the interest of parents. I don't think that's in the interest of the child. And beyond that, I'd like you to come back and talk to us more about kind of this budget thing, because I think it relates directly to school choice. The
Yes.
argument always is the moment you start giving parents the choice, money goes out. It's like, well, maybe you ought to offer a better product to make people more competitive that makes their child better prepared. Because I would argue underwater basket weaving while trying to be sensitive to gay and lesbian rights is probably not the best education for kids who have to compete in a very much of a technologically heavy society today. So,
Right. I'm glad you brought all that up because I'm very passionate about all of that. So
good. Well, we'll have you back. So we got
Okay.
to run right now because we want to make sure that we keep these fairly tight so people can watch and understand more clearly. But Ali, I'd like to have you back if that's okay.
absolutely.
Thank you all for watching and listening to Thought to Action. If you like our program and would like to help us expand and create content, please join our Patreon community at patreon.com Thought to Action, where you can preview our Thought to Action broadcasts and participate in our Ask Us Anything sessions. And subscribe to the Thought to Action podcast via the YouTube, Rumble, and of course, the londoncenter.org website. And we'll be back again very soon for more Thought to Actions, where we delve deeply into critical issues that we all recognize are important for the future of our children and the future of America. So thanks for joining me.